What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Today we're here with Miss Kimberly Palermo. Now, how did I find out about her? She emailed me, and she shared with me also some of her videos. And I said, okay, well, I was actually wanting someone like Kimberly to come on the show. If you watched our interview with Jane Elliott, the other young lady, Alyssa, that came on, she was speaking about the issues in America in relation to racism, white supremacy. And we're definitely open to anyone coming to speak about those issues. So, Ms. Kimberly, thank you for joining us on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it a lot.
All right, Kimberly. So most people would be interested. How, did you get to the point that you start speaking out against racism, white supremacy? Because some of the things that I heard you say, from my experience, a lot of white people wouldn't like you talking that way publicly.
Yes, I agree. And it's true. How I got to wanting to speak out, it's a great question, is, as a really little kid, I didn't get it. I saw it. I saw systemic racism, didn't know what I was seeing. I was raised in the era of color blindness, that you don't talk about it and you don't point it out and you don't. So although I had parents who never, said a foul word in their life, a derogatory term, they also didn't talk about it to me. So I was lost. And at around age 6, it's like, why are people pretending that there's not a problem? And I didn't get it. So I thought I was going crazy. And then as I got older, I had various experiences here and there that kind of hinted me. But I was raised in a very, very white, for lack of a better word, area. And I wanted to know. I had to know what is going on and why is everybody ignoring it? So that's kind of the start of it. When I was 12, we used to, little true confessions here. My 2 sisters and I would have boys jump over the balcony and come visit us. And my parents knew, but they kind of pretended they didn't. And one day my dad took me aside and said that my friend Dan shouldn't do that anymore. And I was like, why? That's what they'll do. I didn't understand. And he told me that the police might shoot him. And I was like, what are you talking about? I didn't get it. Well, Dan is an African-American, he was a kid at the time, teenager. And I was just like a deer in headlights, like, what? And then that was it. I was catching on. And then when I was 18, I got this great by chance opportunity to work with someone who was trained by Jane Elliott with Experiential Learning. And I had to know, and I figured it out. And I realized it's going to be a lifetime of learning for me, because I'll never get there. But.
All right. So let me ask you a question. This person that was trained by Jane Elliott, what did they say that impacted you so much to say, you know what, I'm going to really get into speaking out against, racism, white supremacy? What did they say to you?
Well, it was a process. And at that time, I was more baffled and, oh my gosh, I'm getting closer to getting this. But what they said was, they didn't say anything. It was the activity they put me in. They put me in an experiential learning activity, which blew my mind, because I had never experienced anything like that. And I learned pretty well vicariously. I don't have to experience everything, but this was a real simulation. And they put me in a group, and they had one person enter the group who had a different culture than everybody else. And the cultures were made up. They were invented. And certain things were appalling and certain things weren't. And that experience, entering a group of people who acted like I couldn't do anything right when I hadn't done anything, just opened up my mind to different biases. And it just went from there. And I ended up graduating from my college. I turned out to take a major, majored in what I guess they'd call it multicultural studies. I'm not sure what they call it now. It was a long time ago. But so it was I kind of morphed, slowly learned. It was very gradual. But,
so you mentioned earlier about the area of color blindness. Can you explain that doctrine? Because I've heard many white people say, well, I don't really see color. And I'm like, how do you don't see color when the whole system was built off of, slavery, Jim Crow, how you don't see color. So could you explain that to me?
Absolutely. I'll do my best. Part of the, and I've tried to go back and reflect and trying to become a person who can educate other white folks in anti-racism means I have to delve down deep. This is not like a hobby. This is a lifestyle. And I have to be willing to answer the tough questions and look into my own past and, basically drop my ego at the door. And this is going to be a humbling experience. I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to mess up and I'm going to have to learn from them and just do it. Being raised in the colorblind era, for me, it was that my parents never said a word about any of this. I don't know if they thought I wouldn't notice that not all people are peach and pink, but like, for example, I was in third grade. I had a black African-American teacher, a male, which is kind of rare because I'm a little old. And I had one little boy in my class named, and this is funny, named Charlie Brown. I don't know how he got named that. We were in, third grade. And my teacher was really, really extra mean to him. And I noticed. And I was like, why is he being so mean to him? I didn't quite get the whole color thing, but I knew something was different. I was a slow child. But being raised in that era, we weren't educated. We had whitewash history, obviously, in school. So we didn't learn about Jim Crow. We didn't learn about sundown towns. We didn't learn about the Devil's Punch Bowl or anything. We didn't know what black codes were. We just kind of were taught this very, very whitewashed, beautiful picture in school. So my parents might not have said a slur in their life, but they certainly didn't teach me a single thing. So as a child who was responding to the world, looking around, I didn't get it. I knew something, I was missing something, but everyone was pretending it wasn't there. So the colorblind thing is a really strange thing. It's almost like we're supposed to, I just see a person. It's a really disingenuous philosophy in my mind, but that is kind of how we're pushed. And I've met adults today because I work with beginners. I work with white folks who kind of see something going on, but they're afraid to talk about it. They don't know what to say. They don't want to say something wrong. And, they don't want to say the word black because, oh my gosh, it's a mess. White folks do not know how to talk about racism in America. And that's a real problem because we perpetuate it by pretending it's not there. And sometimes I think what people really mean to say, when they say, I don't see color, you're going to laugh because this is pretty bad. I do see color, but I understand I have at minimum an implicit bias because of the culture of white supremacy that I was raised in. So I am going to be very cognizant of pushing against any implicit bias I have and pushing myself against these feelings of, bigotry or bias or things that could turn to discrimination. So, but that's not what we're told. That could be what they're trying to say, is that I'm aware of this as much as I can and I'm working on it and I'm going to do the best I can. But when they say they don't see color, that's just rude. And they don't. So white folks need to be educated, and it's a lifelong venture.
Okay, you mentioned education, and this is something else I want to pose to you.
Mm-hmm.
So we speak as the 400 plus years victims of racism, white supremacy, and it's not that when slavery ended, the victimization stopped. I mean, we know about the Jim Crow laws, we know about redlining, we know about everything, crack cocaine epidemic with the CIA, we know about mass incarceration, we know about all these different things.
Police says their origins. Yes.
So speak about racism, white supremacy. Let me ask you a question. Why is it when we talk about racism, you have some white people, not all, will say, well, how do we fix racism? And like, why are you asking the victims to fix a problem that was created by, your ancestors? Why are we always asking us to fix things? So didn't we do enough during slavery to build America?
That's that's the thing. Part of my thing I try to impress upon the people that I meet, in what I do is that it's way past, I must have said this 50 times every day. It's way past time for white America to take racial responsibility. We have never taken racial responsibility. Now, sure, we personally might be like, well, we didn't do anything. But by doing nothing, we were born into the society just like everyone else. By doing nothing, we are doing something. And that's perpetuating the status quo, which is systemic racism. And it's disgusting. It's not fair. It's not right. And people oftentimes think, well, you're just trying to make me feel guilty. It's like, no, I'm just trying to make you act like a human. And I don't mean that rudely, but acting like a human is a really cool thing because we can think and we can analyze and we can be afraid and be told terrible things and we don't have to act on them. We can say, yes, I heard this, this, and this, propaganda, stereotypes, rumors, but I also was 5 and I used to play with kids that didn't look like me and they were my friends. So we can think, we don't have to act in this kind of instinctive, whatever we're doing. So I think it's not the responsibility of the people who were oppressed, historically marginalized people to teach the oppressor. I guess that's a good way to put it. I mean, that's why I feel like the more white folks who catch on to this and dedicate themselves to a lifetime of learning, we should be the ones to educate other white folks. It's not the responsibility of the people having to live in this BS all day long to also, as their second, third, fourth job, educate the white people. It's ridiculous. We created it. We need to, I don't care, if you just got to America from another country, we did this. We benefit from it. It's time that we just give a shit about our fellow humans. It's just being human. It's nothing out of guilt or anything like that. But people they get just nuts. They get so defensive and it's a nightmare. Did that answer your question? Kinda?
Yeah, and I'm going to go into another part, something you just said.
Yeah.
You mentioned the word guilt. And so let's talk about just doing wrong things, right? The normal human response to the way God has set things up, that if you do something wrong, you feel guilty, right?
Yeah.
Or you participating in wrongdoing, you feel guilty. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So maybe, let me propose this. The guilt that they're feeling, and maybe you can answer this. The guilt they're feeling is, maybe let's say somebody in 2020. No, you didn't enslave nobody. No, you didn't put nobody in Jim Crow. No, you didn't bomb Black people's churches. No, you weren't in the Ku Klux Klan. You weren't in none of those things. But do you feel the guilt when Black people talk about this comes from, you living in a system that benefits you wholeheartedly? This. There are people, Black people have been in this country for over 400 years. We have fought in every war, every conflict. We have involuntarily built this nation, and yet we don't have the representation. We don't have the wealth, nothing. And then the little bit that we do have is sabotage by, racism. So the guilt, do you think that maybe it comes from living in the system, that's just wrong?
I think for some people it might, but excuse my my own take is that you're giving a lot of credit to white folks. White folks in general, from what I've seen, are not even close to there yet. We are so not close to understanding it's a system. We just think when someone says, that's kind of racist, we think they're calling, they'll talk about racism. They think we're talking about interpersonal racism. They don't even understand at that level that it's a system. And this is just my opinion. I'm sure some people do, but I don't think we're there yet. That's how uneducated most white folks in America are today. And so the guilt, I would go down to even lower level, is, first of all, they probably never thought much of it in their life. And second, they probably reflect back on maybe they were a party to thinking things that are actually really rude if this new information is true. But to say that they feel guilt because they know they're benefiting, I honestly don't think most white people are evolved enough to even know that. And what I say, it might sound strange, and I'm not saying, I'm not being an apologist. I'm literally saying we are so out of it, out of touch with anything but our own little bubble. I mean, white folks don't even know that race is a human construct. They don't even know the basics. So, I mean, from what I found working with white folks, which is all I do for years and years, is you cannot underestimate the lack of information that we have. And it's shocking. Does that kind of answer? But yeah, I mean, if somebody has learned, maybe they are kind of smug, like, I just feel guilty because I know I should be doing something, or I shouldn't. But see, my big thing is this. I don't feel guilt, Phillip. I feel angry. I'm angry at my fellow humans. I don't believe someone should, just because we're born into this, we should accept the status quo and say, well, I see what's going on here, but that's kind of the way it is. No. If you saw somebody in a swimming pool getting dunked by somebody else and trying to be, somebody's drowning them, do you not jump in and try to help because you didn't build the pool or because you didn't shove them in? No. So why do you get born into this and then just kind of go, yeah, we have liberty and justice for all, but not for everybody. It's like, do something. Don't just stand and watch your fellow human be tormented. So, that's kind of my thing. It's not guilt. I'm pissed. This should have been gone a long time ago. I have high expectations for white folks.
Well, let me ask you this. I've covered a lot of stories, and this is in relation to the Nword, and it seems like it's something that I can even almost say like part of the pathology a little bit. Is that what is the obsession with saying the Nword? Okay, we all know where it comes from. We know the legacy and history of that. It doesn't matter if they have a job. It don't matter if they have a business. It doesn't matter if they're a school administrator. I've done thousands upon thousands of stories of people who are not in the Ku Klux Klan, who are not in the alt-right or in those what I would call white supremacist extremist groups.
Right. They're not overt extremists.
So what is the obsession with the N-word? Even they'll say, well, rappers say it. Why can't we say it? My thing is, why do you want to say it? But based on what you saw, why do they are so obsessive, want to still call Black people that word? Why? They get upset. For a lot of times I notice it happens just like this.
That's a really tough question for me. And all I can say is, and this is my own philosophy. I'll get haters, but that's how it goes. My own philosophy is this. You use that word. That means that's how you think. If that's how you think, that's how you feel. Okay? Because in a million years, if a Black person or an African-American person did something rotten to me, because it's just not in my repertoire, and I don't know why it's not in my repertoire, I would never go to that. I'd say, oh, you're a jerk, you're selfish, you're mean. I would never think to do that because I don't think like that. So people who insist on using it, I think they are normalized and accustomed and probably raised with it. Or they have no idea. Words aren't just words. Words are part of how we express our culture. And some words are a little more powerful than others. And that word happens to be a word that holds the pain and the cruelty and the murder and the rape and the horrific barbaric treatment of the hundreds and hundreds of years. And it's not just any word. And so I can't answer for that because I really don't know. But I think there's a cycle of racism. I really do. And I suppose if my parents I've never heard my grandparents even, I had to learn all those. Well, I won't tell you who I learned them from. I don't want to throw someone under the bus. When I was an adult, I had to learn all those words, like what they meant. So that's a hard question for me, but it's sociologically, parents teach their children to be racist, and they don't even have to do it on purpose.
Okay. And I've noticed that too. Even little children, they teach them to say, the N-word. And now let me ask you another question.
Sure.
Do you believe that, Black and white people, based on, at least in America for the past 400 years, right? Do you believe that Black and white people could coexist with each other? Because Black people have done everything that's been asked of us in this nation to follow rules, be the safe Black person where you're not really too, militant or revolutionary.
Can't have any emotions, can't be angry, that's for sure.
Yeah, you can't be angry. That's just a human emotion, right?
Mm-hmm.
So with all that being said, we are so micromanaged. Do you believe that Black and white people could really coexist the way things are in America? And I'm asking that question because I look at based off of treatment, based off of the police, based off of public policy, based off the criminal justice system. I mean, everything is so skewed against the Black man and Black woman in America. But what is your opinion to that?
This is not going to be a popular opinion, but as it stands right now, white America has a hell of a lot of work to do if we're ever going to get there. We need to be educated. And I mean, over time, a lot. I mean, not comprehensive programs from bottom up and top down. As an educator, we can learn and we can get this because I've seen it done. I've seen it over and over and over again. The problem is our culture right now is obviously right now it's completely out of control, but I haven't given up hope, if that's what you're asking personally, but it's going to take, see, here's the thing. Black folks and African-American folks are having to work extra hard every day just to barely get what everyone else is. They're working, I've heard the expression, doubly as hard for getting half as much. And I believe that's true. And you shouldn't have to be a superstar to make it in America. You shouldn't have to be the absolute best athlete, the absolute most academic. That's not fair, And what's going on right now is systemic racism is absolutely permeated every system of our life. It's what our nation was built on. So until the white folks catch up and educate themselves and educate other white folks, I don't think a lot's going to change. Now, that being said, white folks are not heroes. We are not the stars. We are not the leaders. Because you see, we've had hundreds of years to do this. We've failed. We're not, running the show. If you want to get your picture on Facebook in a march, that's, yay for you. That's not helping. We have to educate ourselves, which is doing the work. And it's a lot of work, but it's so worth it. It's so worth it. And so I don't know.
Kimberly, like I said, not to cut you off, I hear exactly what you're saying, but the original question, based on what you see, even in the work that you have done, and you have seen things even regress in recent years, right? Mm-hmm. Do you believe, as a safety mechanism for African Americans, do you believe we can actually coexist?
It's a really good question. I do. But it is going to take a huge cultural shift on the part of white folks. We just have to be educated. Right now, we are like, I can't even explain how off the mark we are with that. I truly believe it's absolutely possible. But right now, we're at least in my lifetime, we're at the most divisive time I've ever seen. It's gone absolutely backwards. When I worked, I was 23 or 24 years old, and I worked in Compton, California. I was a school teacher. I was a regular education teacher and special education teacher. I saw what redlining did. I saw what our government purposefully did to our fellow citizens by not allowing them to accumulate wealth and making everything, and then the cycle of keeping people impoverished in an area that has no infrastructure or jobs. This is all on purpose. If we could somehow dismantle the system of systemic racism and people could get educated, I truly believe that it's possible. Maybe I'm just I tend to kind of be an idealist, but for people who don't think that, I don't blame them one bit. How long do you give? How long do you give a group of people? How many weeks, days, months, years, centuries do you give a group of people when you're simply asking them to have some equity and treat you like a human? I don't know the answer. I certainly don't blame people.
Well, we've had about definitely over 400 years of time to get educated and act right. And I've made this suggestion. Do you believe racism should be criminalized?
Well, that's a good question. Unfortunately, laws can be circumvented, and laws you can't change someone's heart.
Correct.
You just can't. That's disgusting. And I don't know if it should be criminalized, but I definitely think there should be consequences for certain behaviors. There really should be. And, part of social media, not all the fake stuff, but for a while, social media was kind of doing that. And I don't think you can take a person and force them to believe a certain way, but you sure as hell can make them shut their mouth. And sometimes that's the best you can do.
Well, Kimberly, I disagree. And let me tell you how you could criminalize racism. It's not about, sure, you can criminalize certain things people say, but you can also criminalize the banks when they're being biased in lending. You can criticize, school districts for not hiring enough Black teachers. I mean, you worked in the industry. I mean, schools, that.
Yeah, can I interrupt for a minute, Phil? I hate to be rude. I'm not saying you can't criminalize it, like they do. And I mean, there's hate laws and so like that. I'm just saying on an individual basis, you can do things to get a person to do the behavior. You can't get them to feel it, but laws, there should absolutely be laws. But
okay. Yeah, I get what you're saying, because in the UK, they even have hate speech laws over there.
Yeah, my Australian friends hear what happens here and they're like, that's against the law. I'm like, no, it isn't. My friends from Australia and England, they can't believe. I'm like, no, you can do that. They're like, what? So, I mean, I've given that some thought. I mean, I don't know what it's going to take, Philip. I really don't. But
well, let me ask you another question. You made a video and you said, and I quote, "White America has a love affair with racism." And before you answer that, but earlier you stated that a lot of white people just don't know about racism. So how could they have a love affair with racism they don't know? I mean, because racism and white supremacy is like a religion in this country, literally.
Yes, absolutely. And the problem is this: it's a huge continuum. Like I feel like the answer to "Are you racist?" isn't a yes or no question. It's whether you're just implicitly biased, or whether you're, basically burning crosses, being a insane person. And I think it's a continuum. And so some people might just be so ignorant, but I don't think now in this day and age, people who are over a certain age, there's no excuse. But I think a lot of people do not understand what implicit bias is or subconscious bias. They're just out of touch with who they are as a person. And so I think it's a huge combination of both. I haven't found it's one thing. It's on an individual basis. How you're raised, if you read, if you are educated, if 3 out of every 4 white adult in America supposedly does not have a single close friend who's not white. So we are incredibly out of the loop. But that's not an excuse. We're on the planet. So it's a combination. I'm not really extreme. I'm not black and white about it. I'm not, A to Z. I'm not like one side. I'm just, I don't know. I don't think there's one answer.
Well, I mean, but you put in your video, you said white America has a love affair with racism. So how do they love racism? I'm just quoting your video.
Absolutely. I think we do as a group. I also think white America needs to take racial responsibility, but that doesn't mean every single person isn't. Some people are. Not enough, not even close to enough. So when I say white America, I don't say, well, some of white America, because that's kind of implied. Sure, there's always been abolitionists, all through, there's always been somebody who says, are you kidding me? This is sick. But white America does seem to have, in general, a love affair with racism. We can't see it. We don't get it. We can't talk about it. We're defensive. It's right before our eyes. And that's what I mean when I say that. It doesn't mean like 99, it means 99 out of 100 seem to have some sort of love affair, whether it's subconscious or not. I don't know. Everyone's different. That's not for me to say, but we need educating, because implicit bias, when it turns to discrimination, it's just as bad as anything else. Call it what you want. I don't care if a white person doesn't know they're doing it. When a doctor sees a little black boy, and he's having surgery and gives him less pain medication, and they're not thinking about it, they're still hurting that child. Whether it's on purpose is neither here nor there. So I don't know. I speak that way because I believe as a group. How do I know this? Think of the statistics. They're completely skewed. The life expectancy, the maternal, everything is saying systemic racism is alive and thriving. It should have been gone by now if we didn't have this sort of strange, I think capitalism has a kind of a symbiotic type of relationship with racism too. I don't know. I don't have the answers, but all I know is we still have it. So we're
let me ask you this. And we see this a lot. Why is it that Black people are blamed for everything? Even though we don't run the country, we don't control the Senate, we don't control the House, we don't control the Supreme Court. We aren't the mayors for the most part in the country. We aren't the governors. We aren't the police departments. We aren't the police chiefs. We aren't hardly any of that. But yet Black people is blamed for everything. Recently, Michael Bloomberg has come out that back in 2008, he blamed Black people for the housing crisis. And anybody with half an ounce of education would know it's the bankers that did that, giving loans to people, adjustable rate mortgages that could not afford it. But yet he blamed Black people.
Yeah,
that's a common theme in this country. So why are we blamed for everything in America?
I have been asked that before, and I have no stinking clue other than, I can come up with stuff, but it's part of it is, sociologically speaking, white folks have never, ever faced what we've done and what we're still doing. The average white person doesn't want to talk about it. They're afraid. It's out of control. It's been years and years and years and years. And we just don't talk about it. And if we do talk about it, it's with other white people. It's not in a mixed setting. It's not in a setting where we can talk to the people who have to live this stuff. And that's how I've learned the most throughout my years of trying to educate myself. Not from books a little, from human beings talking like we're doing, telling me their life and what they endure. And they tell me this from all over the country. They don't know each other. They're not making this stuff up. It's not a big conspiracy. They're all living the same type things because of our culture. We've just never faced it and dealt with it and repented even. How can we repent if we won't even admit it? Half the white folks in America think we're in a post-racial era because either we ended slavery, it's been over technically. Of course, they don't understand the 13th Amendment, so they don't, get that part. Or we had a Black president, or, the denial is tangible. So I see what you're saying, and we do that constantly, and it's the sickest damn thing. It's like we're taking not that Black folks are victims, but we're taking the people we've been cruel to as a society and scapegoating them more. We should be doing the opposite, is looking at ourselves and trying to figure out how we can be a part of the solution in supporting real equity. It's in our best interest. to do so. White folks don't quite get this, but it is not. I mean, unless maybe as on an individual basis, you're having fun doing it. Like, yeah, I love being a racist. It makes you feel good about yourself. I don't know, but it is not in our best interest to be like this. I mean, it is incredibly harmful. And why we do that, I feel like systemic racism is a crime against humanity, an ongoing one. I have some extreme views, but that's how I feel, because it deprives you of so much every minute of every second of every day. And I got all this from talking to people, lots of people. So I don't know.
Well, I agree with you that white supremacy is a evil, demonic entity. I agree with you because I have not seen anything good it produces. It doesn't show equality for human beings. You look at our world policy. We will go do things to people in other countries underneath the guise of the CIA. We'll kill people. Our country will steal resources and do all kinds of other things to people just so they can have things. And they only do it in people's countries who are non-white. They don't go in white countries and do any of that, which would lead me to say how evil the system of white supremacy can be. Now, let me ask you another question. We talk about reparations. That's been something we've been talking about. And when you mention reparations, a lot of white folks get angry. A lot of them get offended. They get ornery. And they say, I'm not paying you anything. We're not paying. But notice everyone else got money, like the Japanese got money. No one said I'm not paying them anything. The Jewish people, when they came here, they got money from the U.S. And the U.S. had nothing to do with the Holocaust.
Right. I don't really get that either. But
yeah. So the question I have is, the true Holocaust in America was American chattel slavery against the descendants of Africans that were slaves in this country. Why is they get so angry and upset when we ask for demand reparation?
Right.
There's a debt owed.
Yeah, I think it all falls back to most people, no offense or anything, but most white folks don't even know what reparations are until it came up in this Marianne Williamson. She brought it up, and I'm really glad she brought it on, kind of put it on the table, even though she's not running. She got the subject to actually start being talked about. But before that, I don't think most white people even knew what they were, to be honest. I mean, the levels I'm getting are people who are like, huh, what's that? I mean, I think it's all in the same thing. They just don't get it. If you're looking at what's happening now from a completely ahistoric view, you don't know about sundown towns. You don't know about Emmett Till. You don't know about lynchings and these horrific systems of black codes and black wolves. Your opinion about what's happening today is totally ahistoric. You might as well have no clue, because you don't. If you don't know our real racial history, you are not qualified to have an opinion about the problems we have today that are about, racial relations, because you have no clue what you're talking about. So it all stems from education. And a lot of white folks don't want to be educated. They don't care. They don't want to know. They don't care. It's all about them. They're not willing to use their God-given or whoever given ability to think. But the whole reparations thing it's a very high level part of anti-racism. If you don't even know that race is a human construct and that redlining was purposely done to people in America at every level of, nationally, statewide, citywide, then your opinion on reparations is ahistorical and ignorant. So, I mean, it's not an informed opinion. And I mean, personally, people who, they're not there yet. They are so not there yet. They don't get it. They think, I don't owe you anything. They don't see the system and the picture. We don't know where we're living. We're living happily living our lives out. You know, people don't even get white privilege. They're like, what? I'm not rich. It's like, doesn't mean you're rich if you have white privilege. Like, what? I work hard for everything. I mean, there's I could go on and on. I don't know if I'm answering your question, but it all stems from our absolute ignorance of what really happened. So,
well, I'm gonna say this, just from what I know.
Mhm.
I'm gonna say that a lot of times, and based off this conversation, you really kind of underestimate the knowledge of a lot of white people, because white people, I've talked to many white people, know exactly what happened in this country. They just don't like to talk about it. They know about the lynchings, they know about the sundown towns, they know about a whole lot of things, but the standard operating procedures don't say nothing about it. Keep quiet. We don't want to hear anything about that.
Well, I work with beginners, so maybe I'm skewed a little. I could see that.
Okay. All right. So what I'm saying is, I look at all levels of this thing, at least for me. Like I said, it's a life or death situation. And, you made some comment earlier I have to correct. Marianne Williamson did not bring the reparations conversation to the forefront. That was the Black Grassroots did that, definitely on social media, and also people
I didn't know.
around. And I've interviewed Marianne Williamson myself, and had some conversations with her. So she was definitely open, and with the idea. But the current Democrat Party is very anti-Black, and we see that.
Yeah, she was the first person to say my number one. She came on radio and TV.
Yeah, she did bring. No, I give her that. She did bring reparations.
She was off base with a lot of
debate stage, and the Democrat Party, as of right now, they don't want nothing with reparations.
Oh yeah, no, they don't. Yeah, I definitely.
No, with that being said, let me ask you one question.
Mm-hmm.
There are people that try to blame Donald Trump for a rise of racism, but he only been in office almost 4 years now. No. Do you blame Trump for racism, or you think this comes way before Donald Trump?
Oh, of course it comes way before Donald Trump. Donald Trump is they finally found their leader who will help empower them. But, you kidding me? Racism has been around since it's been here. He just found his way in, and now they can look to this leader who's clearly overtly racist. But oh my gosh, no, he didn't. I blame him right now because he has a ton of power and he's usurping a ton of power, and he could have used all his power to be good and to teach and to educate and to make sure people understood, but instead he used it for evil. He and the clan that surrounds him, which I call them a clan because I'm sorry, if you support him, yeah, you might say, oh, I'm not racist, but you know what? It wasn't a deal breaker for you. And that's a problem. But no. He's the, I don't know, one of my friends says we have less cognitive dissonance now than ever. We actually have a white racist who's our president who actually reflects America. And I'm sad to say, I mean, it's probably true. It's disgusting, but people pretend, everything's fine. No, he didn't cause this. He's definitely emboldening people. You can't cause one person to say, no, these people already had it in their mind. Absolutely. Now they feel like, yeah, we can, I don't know. Am I answering your question?
Well, the one thing you did say that I'm definitely going to agree with is that he's a representation of America. I've said that many times before. And, when you're saying, they have a leader, it was already in them to do this. Now, me personally, I'm loving the presidency of Donald Trump. I'm going to tell you why.
Some of my friends are too.
It's making people expose themselves. Like, I don't like people being fake with me. If you don't like me, you don't like Black people, cool. Let me know. I respect that. So I'm good with him making people feel like they can just be upfront with it, because how are you going to actually challenge it if you don't have people being upfront about who they are? Because see, they have people that'll smile in your face and then go in the house and call y'all kind of N-word. You understand?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. A lot of my friends say what you're saying. I absolutely get it. In the silver lining of having this man is that it's all out on the table. If you don't understand that we have a horrific issue with systemic racism in this country, then you're full of shit, I mean, it's out on the table. Absolutely. And I totally can get that. I think he's a cruel, horrific human being, but you're right, 100%. And a lot of my friends say the same thing is, you know what? Well, a few of them say I'm loving it. Some of them say this could be the best thing that ever happened eventually to us. And then some just say, tons of people say different things. Nobody says the same thing, but, oh, I've heard that before. Yeah, he is putting it all out there and showing what we really are as a society based on white supremacy.
So I read in your email that you say you was removed from Facebook and a few Facebook groups.
I was
for speaking against racism and white supremacy. Now, let me ask you a question. This is something that I've seen. White people that actually come out and speak against racism, white supremacy, and they're very effective doing that. The few I've seen. Mm-hmm. Why is it that I would say the majority of the white community can't stand them? Why is that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I've like last 2 weeks ago, I got death threats after my live show. I mean, real ones that I had to call the police for.
But white people?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm not assuming they were. They could have had fake. Yeah.
And what did they tell you? They
were coming to get me.
Because of what?
Because I was friends with Black people, and that's not how they put it. It's a police case right now. I mean,
okay. Well, I'm not going to go any further into that.
No,
they threaten your life. Yeah. Because of what did you say for them? Just maybe you can remember exactly what you said during that live.
I don't know. I just speak the truth, and here's the thing. I speak the truth out of my goal in life. It's as a human is to speak the truth about. Why would I not speak the truth about this? I try to do it with everything else, but what am I going to do to say, oh, racism? I'm not going to tell the truth about that. So I do. So clearly, the truth hurts, and they must have something in their life that they've been feeling really bad about. And but yeah, that's a little out of control. But why do white folks hate me? Like my YouTube mail is, oh my God, it's vile. It's like scary. I don't put everything through, but that's nothing compared to what Black folks and African American people live with every single day. I can relate to that. But I want to stay on you. I want to stay on you. I don't want to pivot from this point. Yeah. So are you experiencing a lot of hate and misogyny from white males? Mm-hmm. Could you explain the misogyny? Because they don't speak about the misogyny that a lot of white women that speak out can get from white males. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I never really thought about it that way, but yeah, you're good, Phillip. You're good. A lot of times what happens is, well, about 6 months ago, I got, it's supposed to be a compliment, but I got this guy, this YouTuber who is a real nasty, hateful guy. He did a 1-hour special on my video. I'm nobody. I'm just some white lady who gives a shit, And he did a special on my video, and it was like, whoa. So I thought, okay, I'm going to listen to this. What could he have to say? And I'm expecting, silly, naive me. I'm expecting point, counterpoint. He's going to, the history that I speak of, the facts. He's going to, no, he called me a fat, old, disgusting lesbian. It's like, what about systemic racism? So a lot of times I never get, well, I don't say never, but probably 99 out of 100 from the white men. They are pissed. How dare I be this race traitor? And I'm just like, oh my gosh, that shows me where they're at. They don't even understand. They at the most fundamental levels, but they say I'm ugly, I'm old, they just make fun of my appearance, I guess, or because they're gonna get me. And it just, I guess, ow, my feelings are hurt, whatever, but they don't have a point because they know it's not right. So
you're saying not only they're practicing a lot of misogyny, I mean, you feel, greatly threatened from what you're saying by the men in your communities for just having an opinion, your freedom of speech. I mean, how does that feel that you don't even feel protected by white men?
I personally, I judge each person on an individual basis. I don't care if you're a white person. I wish there were tags, because the person has to prove to me, and I don't like stand out and say, prove to me, but I don't let my guard down until I approach the issue. I usually do, because I just want to get it out there. I'm going to get it out there right there and then. And I'm okay with people still learning. I'm not like this arrogant person, like, you don't know enough. If they want to learn, I will bend over backwards to teach them, because that's my passion. But I am extremely privileged, and I don't have to have contact with, I work at home. I don't have to have contact with anyone who is overtly racist. I really don't. And that's a very privileged place. I don't have to go to work and deal with, nope. So but yeah, I have absolutely no, people, the biggest thing they say is, you just hate white people. You just hate all white people. I get that all the time.
Well, how can you hate white people when you are a white person? How could you hate white people?
I say, I am a white person, but if you want to feel that way, you can go ahead and be in your world of denial. And I get that, but I don't hate white people. They don't get it. I believe in white people. We can do better. This is not our best. If this is our best, that's pathetic.
Well, let me ask you this too, because I also noticed this. Have they, in their threats, have threatened you in a sexual assault manner, like saying they're going to rape you? Have they told you those things, those white men?
Yeah, the guys who do this, they have kind of like an MO, like it's always the same thing. They never get creative. No offense, but it's always, I hope a black man rapes you.
Wait, stop.
That's what I get.
Why are we as black men being put in their mind to do something to you? I mean, why? Why is that?
Absolutely off their fucking rocker. Oh, can you swear on this show? Sorry.
I'll try not. We try to keep it to a minimum.
They're extremely deranged in their thought process. How's that? That's the most ludicrous thing. Who goes there? Because they're so damn racist, they can't see straight. I don't know why, but that's the one all the time. I get that. I hope a black man rapes you. It's like, okay, that's the most propagandist, sick, cruel, ridiculous answer. It's
because according, I mean, would be a lie, because according to the FBI arrest records, white men lead in rapes.
Exactly. It's not even, it's people who do that are, I mean, why they do it is because they're crazy. I don't know. I don't have an answer for it, but it's ludicrous. And it's like, I think they're actually trying to think of the meanest thing they could think of saying. And like, the whole thing is just ridiculous, but that is what I get. I get that kind of thing a lot. But it's nothing compared to what black folks and African American people get. So, I got a comment. All right, I won't put it through. I'll think, wow, that's really sad. I don't hate those people. I feel sorry for them. They're going to go through life with this crazy. Just hope to hell they don't do anything to anyone. But it's very anonymous, so it's hard to, it's. I actually sometimes I talk to them. And it's arrogant, but I just think like if I can just like plant a seed, like maybe they think I'm this, and I'll be like, talking to them, and maybe they'll realize like, oh, she's not that mean or that bad. I don't know. I'm not into the savior stuff, but I really, really, I think if you could put them in like this shack for like a year alone and just like work on them, like unbrainwash them. I don't know. I think it's like I don't know. I'm just blabbing now, but yeah.
Well, like I said, I've seen that before. Even like I said, a lot of white women, deal with those issues like you, with threats of rape because they don't like what you say,
right?
Or they even protected in the criminal justice system. Because black men surely not protected. They touch a child, they be getting 10 years probation.
Or
you have cases where white women are raped by white men and they get a slap on the wrist, or sometimes don't even go to jail at all.
Their future, their future.
Yeah, constantly victimizing, the women. Then my problem is with all that particular, pathology and evil, they want to use a comment like, "I hope you're raped by a black man." You see the evil and sick, twisted nature that's in their mind.
It's deranged. That's how they think. That's really speaking to how they think. They truly believe in these ridiculous, ahistorical, completely propagandist bullshit lies. They're not thinking right. Like something's wrong with them. You know, to even think that something's really wrong with them. So those are the scary people.
Yes, we all agree. They are some definitely scary people. We can definitely agree on that. That's why I tell the Black community to stay on guard at all times. But with that being said, Kimberly, how can people get to your YouTube channel so they can see more of your videos?
Oh, thank you. My YouTube channel is called Angry Soccer Mom, and it's set up to educate white folks because I don't have business educating anyone but white folks. How would I know better than the people living it today how to solve this and how to do this? But I have a lot of kind of everybody's on it, you know, but the goal is to get the message out. It doesn't have to be like this. And it's called Angry Soccer Mom. And the truth is, I'm not really angry. I'm just devastated. And my kids don't play soccer. But that's what I do, is I try to educate folks.
All right. Well, with that being said, everyone, you know, you would like to check out Kimberly's YouTube channel, Angry Soccer Mom. We'll put a link in the pinned comment. You can go check that out and watch her videos and get in on the conversation and to see what's going on over there. So Kimberly, we thank you for taking up time to speak with us today. It was a great conversation.
It is an absolute honor. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you.